people don't like to give too much recommendation on what to do for cancer, because we're pretty much usually forced to go down the traditional route of, you know, chemotherapy or radiation surgery. But there is so much you can do with nutrition. So David was asking, you know, how can you, or he had heard that by creating an alkaline environment in your body that can help reduce the cancer growth, and in some cases it can actually make the cancer cells self-destruct. So
Right.
they're, you know, probably starting with the importance of creating an alkaline environment in your body. You know, in the morning, what happens is from the night before, we eat food during the day, and when we're asleep, our body breaks down all this food, and it breaks it down into acids, and, you know, carbohydrates get broken down into glucose, and then the glucose being broken down creates lactic acid. So it creates this sort of inflammation and acidity in the body. So first thing in the morning, if you wake up, if you're going to feel aches and pains in your joints, it's usually first thing in the morning, and it sort of eases up throughout the day as we get hydrated and everything starts to break down, the body starts to function correctly. So, you know, first thing in the morning, we want to try and reduce the acidity. So having something like a room temperature glass of water with lemon juice, which is alkaline, can reduce the acidity in your body. We're trying to get
vinegar, right? We mentioned this last time.
apple cider, yeah.
Apple cider
vinegar, lemon juice, and maybe some greens powder. Stevia actually is very alkalizing. So
really?
Yeah, mm. So which is kind of counterintuitive because it's sweet.
Yeah, totally. It's so sweet.
Yeah. So, you know, having those kind of things is going to reduce the acidity, which reduces the inflammation. And we know that cancer cells can't grow, or they pretty much struggle to grow in an alkaline environment. So everything we put into our mouth, whether we're drinking or eating, we want to make sure that it's trying to reduce acidity and increase alkalinity. So things like leafy greens, you know, bok choy, lettuce, you know, all these sort of leafy greens, or even sort of broccoli, cauliflower, these things are helping us reduce the acidity. And that can help make that environment in the body where the cancer cells find it hard to grow. The next thing you do is you reduce all the sugar. Anything which is either got sugar in it, or things which get broken down into your body as sugar. So things like pasta, which doesn't actually have any sugar in it, but when you eat it, it gets broken down very quickly and you get this big spike of blood sugar. And then of course, you know, we create an environment where cancer cells can be fed. So we know that cancer cells basically eat and are fueled on glucose, which is, you know, sugar or things which are broken down as a sugar. So if we remove that, we stop having the fuel for the cancer cells to grow. So we create an alkaline environment, we stop feeding the cancer cells, and then we start eating foods, which is going to help boost your immune system. So last time after the talk, I uploaded a list of foods which I've sort of researched, and they have either healing qualities, they help boost your immune system, or create an alkaline environment. So I'll post it again if anyone's missed it, but those are sort of the key things that you need to do if you do have cancer, or you know someone that has cancer, to try and help them create an alkaline environment, stop feeding the cancer cells. The other thing is also removing toxins as well. So there's pretty much toxins in lots of places that you wouldn't even think of, you know, like tap water, beauty products. You know, tap water has chlorine and different things to kill all the parasites like Giardia.
That would depend where you're living, right? Like the quality of the water.
Obviously in Cebu you wouldn't drink tap water of full stop, but you know, here in Australia it's reasonably, well, you know, it's safe to drink tap water.
Do you drink tap water there in Australia?
I don't, no, because they make it safe by adding, you know, chlorine, fluoride, all these things which help kill the parasites. But then all the stuff they use to kill the parasites is actually really toxic to your body. So they ensure that you don't get something like Giardia, which is going to make you really sick. But it's kind of like they do that, but put all these other things in, which is going to make you sick long term. So then beauty products, you know, shampoos, which have things like propylene glycol, parabens and stuff, which is in beauty products. All these things we know now.
That means that you use organic
body
products,
wash.
body wash and stuff. So you look at that. You look at those labels as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that hard to find organic stuff now. Like, or it doesn't necessarily have to be organic, but you just want to make sure that it doesn't have things. Well, the two main ones is parabens and propylene glycol, which is it's nasty shit. It's stuff that they use to put on planes to stop them from icing up, but they put it into products.
But that's like the mass market, supermarket, like, Head and Shoulders, Dove, Unilever, Procter and Gamble. Those are all.
95% of the products that you use, and toothpaste has a lot of fluoride and other things in it. You don't want to get too sort of caught up in it because you think everything is bad and it's going to kill you. But
So fluoride is a toxin. Yeah. Like, I try not to take in fluoride, but I thought I was like being weird about that. So you also don't take in fluoride, because there was, when I was growing up, people would say fluoride is good for your teeth and stuff, and now I'm realizing it just calcifies your pineal gland. But
yeah, and it might help strengthen your teeth, but it's not good for the rest of your body and your system. So another tip as well, when you're having apple cider vinegar, if you are having it in a drink in the morning, make sure it's quite diluted, because it can peel the enamel off your teeth.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
I
remember that.
Yeah,
well,
so that's
morning. I was gonna grab a cup of coffee, and then I always remember, okay, I have to hydrate and like balance the acidity of my body before anything else. So thanks for that.
Most of the time we wake up feeling pretty shit in the morning because our body is acidic from breaking down the food and the drinks that we've had from the previous day, and we're feeling a bit sort of sluggish. And the first thing we do is we go for a coffee, which is the diuretic and actually dries us out, dehydrates even further. So having something like a big glass of water with lemon juice, maybe half a lemon, cap full of apple cider vinegar, is going to help rehydrate yourself first thing in the morning, and start you off so that your body can function correctly, and you can start doing the important things that your body needs to do.
I just wanted to ask you something related to this, like in terms of the quality of the water. I want to go back to the quality of the water. And like you mentioned, here in Cebu, definitely not tap water, but even the water that we get like delivered, I also think it's super sketchy if you don't know like how they do that. And but there's people who have like an alkaline water, first of all, is one, and then Kangen water is the other one. Like, can you know about those two?
Yeah, so Kangen water is a alkaline rich water. So it goes through a process which increases the alkalinity. So we want to try and, so your pH balance is, we want to try and maintain around about a 6.5 to 7 pH in our body, which is neutral. Anything sort of below 7 is going to be acidic, and anything above is alkaline. So we want to try and stay sort of around that 7. So the idea of the Kangen water, which is alkaline rich water, is that it's, we drink it, it's going to help increase alkalinity. Another type of water which I use is the hydrogen rich water. So I have a machine at home which is actually an acrylic welder, and it creates hydrogen rich water by putting hydrogen into, like, goes through it's like a welder. So you have this little torch that if you were to light from water, it creates hydrogen gas, and you can burn stuff or weld stuff together. But you put that into the water, and the bubbles come through, and you drink the water, and that helps with your alkalinity as well. So there's quite a few different types of water, and depending on where you live, there's different minerals and stuff in there too. Like I came from Alice Springs before, which is in the middle of the desert, and there's a lot of calcium in the water, so which they can then create deposits of calcium in your body, so you don't want to sort of drink it too much.
Oh, I thought calcium was good for you.
Yeah, calcium is good for you, but too much, like if you heard of like ganglions, things you get on the back of the hands.
Calcium. Oh my God. Okay.
Calcium can deposit onto your tendons and joints, so it gets like hard sort of mass.
Oh.
So you don't want it. So there's always the right balance. But if you were drinking calcium-rich water, like the water in Alice Springs in the desert is so calcium-rich that your shower screen goes white. Everything that touches
it, it's harder. Yeah.
Yeah, and your coffee machine goes to shit within a few weeks.
That's what they call the hard water.
Yeah, hard, yeah.
So what's the
So
difference? So just finishing with the water, what's the difference between the hydrogenated water and the alkaline? Is it the benefits are like similar?
yeah, slightly different. So the alkaline water is not had the hydrogen gas put through it. They call it Brown's gas, which is I'll post a picture of my little setup at home later on. But so it actually separates the hydrogen and the oxygen. The H2O is hydrogen and oxygen, and it separates them so that your body can absorb the hydrogen. So it's good for your skin. It's good for hydrating your body from within, and it can help reduce joint pains and inflammation. It's good for your skin. Yeah.
Like arthritis? Arthritis?
Yeah. So anyone that has arthritis or any joint pains, there's probably apart from things that are bone on bone rubbing together. Apart from that, it's probably caused through eating a diet which is rich in acidic foods, or highly processed foods, which is going to create inflammation in your body.
I feel like there's so much resistance to that though. When I know, like, I have a relative who has arthritis, and I was like, you can just change your diet, and she's like, no. Like people don't. I think they're baffled by the simplicity of it. That they have resistance to believing that changing your diet could make you less likely to get cancer or develop arthritis or reverse arthritis or. It is. Do you notice that in your work? Like people are coming up against that? Yeah.
People are really, really surprised, but you think, we've thought that cholesterol has been really bad. We always think that cholesterol, if we have high cholesterol, it means that our heart is defective, possibly going to be defective, or we're going to have a stroke or a heart attack. But we now know that cholesterol is not necessarily bad unless there's inflammation in your body. So the inflammation happens. So imagine your artery. If there's no inflammation, it's nice and smooth inside, and the blood passes through, no problems at all. Cholesterol passes through, and cholesterol does really good things for your body. Your brain is made up mostly of cholesterol, so and cholesterol is not necessarily bad. When we eat things like pasta, processed carbohydrates,
you're always making up pasta. Like people are gonna hate you.
So when you eat something like pasta, it gets broken down into your body very quickly. It gives you a big elevation of blood sugar. The blood sugar then gets broken down, creates lactic acid. It becomes acidity and inflammation in arteries. So I'm not talking about just having one bowl of pasta, but if you were to have processed carbohydrates on a daily basis, which is pretty much the standard diet in America now.
Because a lot of people do that. Yeah.
Breakfast cereals, even health food bars, they're full of sugary carbohydrates.
Cereal. Yeah.
So people eat a lot of this stuff, it becomes inflammation in the arteries. And you get these little tears in the arteries, and the cholesterol is there as a Band-Aid. So it comes in and it patches up these little tears in your arteries. So it's a good thing. It's there to fix it. But because people keep on eating a lot of fat and a lot of carbohydrates, the inflammation stays there. You get these little crossed patches in the arteries from the cholesterol. And then as the cholesterol is going through the arteries, it connects to that little tear, and where the cholesterol's gone to repair it. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
It just builds up.
The cholesterol is not the problem, but the cholesterol is always there trying to fix the problem, which is caused by eating refined carbohydrates. But because the cholesterol is always there, people think that cholesterol is a negative thing, but it's they liken it to saying that firefighters cause fires because they're always there at the scene of the fire, but they're not there. They're not there causing the fire. They're there trying to remedy it and get rid of it.
That makes sense. That really makes sense.
So, that's a simple way of thinking. Inflammation from eating an acidic diet is bad. It's negative. It's not necessarily the cholesterol. I go off on tangents. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, that totally makes sense. I believe that very much. But isn't it that, again, back to the pH, that meat is acidic? Because you were mentioning that like meat is part of the diet, but it's kind of acidic. Right? It causes inflammation, right?
Yeah. So when your body breaks down the protein, so especially like red meat, eggs, eggs and white fish are your most easily digestible proteins, so they're good. Chicken's a little bit more acidic or create acidity. Standalone, they're not acidic. It's what happens when it goes into your body and your body starts to break it down. So there's acids needed to break it down because it's very dense. So things like you eat 100 grams of broccoli and you eat that and it won't create acidity because your body's it's quite easy for it to break down, and the fiber is there and helps you get rid of some toxins actually. So whereas the meat gets broken down and increases the acidity in your body. So yeah, you want to go sort of if you do eat meat, stick to your eggs, white fish. Try and limit your seafood, so your prawns and that kind of thing, because they do tend to be a little bit dirtier than your other meats.
That's what you mentioned also.
But still, red meat is important if you're not taking an iron supplement. To have maybe one serving of good quality red meat per week. I try to eat mainly once a night, but once per week is good.
Yeah, that's not too much. What about if you're having like lentils and chickpeas and beans and all that? Could that replace the protein from the red meat? Do you feel?
Yeah. So yeah, you'll get a certain amount of protein from lentils and chickpeas and stuff like that, which is fine. Your body doesn't absorb quite as much of it as it would from meat, and it won't have the amino acids which you get from meat. But I'm not saying you have to eat meat, but I would, if you are strictly vegan, I would really recommend getting some blood tests done to test your iron, your ferritin levels, because if you were to eat a lot of spinach, which is what we call relatively high in iron. If you were to get say 50 micrograms of iron from spinach and the same from beef, your body won't absorb around about 40% of the iron that you eat through vegetable sources. So it becomes quite hard to get the amount of iron that you need. But then you've got people like me that has too much iron.
How do you have too much iron?
Yeah, so I just went in for a regular health check about, I think it was October last year, and I just get my bloods done once a year, and they found that my ferritin levels, which is the iron storage marker in your body, was 750, and it's meant to be under 300. So yeah, which is really strange because I don't really eat much red meat, but then you never know.
Happen? It's just, do you produce it or?
So usually it's having a defective gene which gives you hemochromatosis, where your body can't get rid of the iron. But I don't have that, so I'm a bit of a mystery. But you never know unless you check, right? So yeah, I'm special. So I ended up having to have bags of blood taken out of me and just thrown away.
What?
Yeah, so I've had 3 bags of blood taken out of me, and each time I've brought it down by about 100. So now I'm down to about 350.
That's so weird. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so you can't just sort of guess and think, oh, maybe I'm low on iron, I need to eat more iron, because if you have too much iron, it has the same effects on your body as too little iron. So like you feel a bit lethargic. So yeah, it's you can't ever guess. So I guess my point is, if you're going to change your diet or increase things, you need to go to the doctors and get a blood test.
And you recommend that like once a year or what?
Yeah, I would do once a year, and because we're talking about guys as well, probably it's a good time to talk about checking your PSA levels as well. So so your PSA levels shows you if there's any sort of cancerous antigens on being emitted from your prostate. So the good news is, guys, you don't have to have the old finger up the bum. The first step, and if your doctor tells you that, it's probably because they enjoy it. So,
oh God.
So I would
old school.
Yep. So that's the second step. If you come back with a high PSA level of over 3, mine was 0.036 last time, and I get it checked quite frequently because my dad died last year of prostate cancer. So had a bit of a shit run with cancer in parents, but took both in the last 3 years. So that's why I'm sort of particularly passionate about nutrition to help people with cancer. Yes. And that's predominantly my clients here are people with cancer. Yeah. So yeah, you just have a PSA check through your bloods, and very easy. It'll come back, and if there's any markers, then they'll do the finger up the bum, and then they'll do ultrasounds and stuff like that as well. But especially over the age of 40, you should be getting that checked every year. And I would also get other things checked, and I'll put this down on the page afterwards. But HbA1c, which shows how glycated your red blood cells are. So it's a good marker that shows us that whether you're likely to get diabetes or cancer, because when you eat a lot of carbohydrates that get broken down into sugars, the sugars kind of stick around the red blood cells and they become kind of sticky. But it's something which you need to check and then check again in about 3 months, because your red blood cells have about a 3-month lifespan. So it's something which if you checked it every year and just check that you're in the right range. And see, doctors they won't check this stuff unless you ask. And if you ask for an HbA1c test, they'll probably say to you why. But at the end of the day, it's...
Matt said so.
Yeah, Matt said I should. And then of course you want to check your glucose levels. So if you don't have a blood glucose tester at home, which you can get pretty cheaply, I think they're about 1,500 pesos at a pharmacy, which is about $50 in Australia. You just prick your finger and it'll tell you what your blood sugar levels are, and they should be around about 5. And it's quite a good tool to have, and you can check, the foods that you're eating, how your body reacts to that food afterwards, to see if you get a big elevation of blood sugar or not. So checking your glucose levels, triglycerides, which shows how much fat's in the blood, your cholesterol.
So this is something you would do if, for example, you feel like you have a family history of diabetes or whatnot, right? I mean, if you're overall, kind of healthy, having a healthy lifestyle, you wouldn't be like checking your blood sugar. Like I don't check my blood sugar regularly.
I check all the time. Well, like at least once a year or twice a year, I'll get all these done, because when they're taking blood, it's not that much harder for them to, you don't have to do anything else, but it's good to get them to check everything.
No, but you're talking about the yearly checkup. I mean, like you're saying you can get the thing to do it at home and all that, but something you recommend for everybody to do?
I think I have a blood sugar glucose blood tester for home, because I'm curious about how the effects of different meals have.
How often do you check your blood sugar?
Oh, not often, but if you were to go to the doctors and you got a test and it said your glucose levels were high, then getting one for home to see which kind of foods is spiking your blood sugar levels, then that's probably quite handy to have.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if we have these big spikes of blood sugar, what happens is your pancreas starts to pump out insulin to force the sugar into the cells to be used. So you eat something like pasta, which doesn't have sugar in it.
For pasta.
You get a big spike of blood sugar, your body breaks it down, and then your body releases, or your pancreas squeezes out this insulin so it can be used, because it's high, unstable amounts of sugar which is floating around in your blood that needs to be pushed into the cells so it can be used as fuel. So if we're eating high carbohydrate, when I say like high carbohydrate, I'm mainly talking about bad carbohydrates, like high glycemic ones.
White flour,
bread, potatoes. Sweet potatoes okay because it's more fiber, whereas potatoes is high glycemic, gets broken down quicker. So you're eating all these sort of high glycemic carbohydrates, and you're up and down, your blood sugar levels going up and down, up and down. Your pancreas should only really be squeezing out insulin maybe once a day. But for most people, it's 5, 6, 7 times a day, and the pancreas starts to get burned out. And when your pancreas gets burned out, it struggles to regulate your insulin. And then we get things like metabolic syndrome.
So is there a difference in terms of this for men and women, or it's the same functions as far as sugar?
Yeah, in regards to blood sugar levels and the foods that we eat, that's pretty similar.
Okay.
So the principles of trying to keep your body sort of alkaline and avoiding sort of processed carbohydrates to keep your blood sugar levels stable is the same. The difference really with, well, there's a few differences with men and women. Men being larger and generally in size, we generally require more protein in our diet. You know, women should have maybe about 20% of their total calories from protein, whereas men probably more like 30% of your total calories from protein. You know, men tend to have higher iron levels, which is because we don't have periods and we don't sort of let out every month. And an interesting fact about that is that the reason why women actually live longer, or one of the main reasons women live longer than men, is because they don't have as much iron. So for me, having high iron levels creates scarring tissue on your heart, your pancreas, and
I thought like anemia was a big deal. Like,
yeah, so either way is not good. So too much iron is going to create scar tissue and can damage your heart, your pancreas, and your liver, which is bad. That's why I had to get the blood taken out to bring it down to normal levels. Otherwise, you know, it can actually kill you. People live with hemochromatosis or high iron levels for years and years and years. And I've got a feeling that
common, Matt? Is that fairly common?
It is, yeah. I was amazed when I first got diagnosed with high ferritin levels, which is your iron marker. I did a Google search and found that this, the thing is, I think in Australia it's like 1 in 50, but not many people talk about it.
Exactly. I don't hear much about that.
So for men, it usually starts around 40, which was ironic. I just turned 40, and for women, it's around about 55 or postmenopausal when you start to when you don't have your periods anymore, your menstrual cycle. So it can be quite common in ladies at the older age. So so for women, they might need to take an iron supplement to increase their iron. But for men, quite often, if you're having one serve of red meat per week, that's probably quite enough. But definitely checking. I mean, if you get full blood work done, if you ask for full bloods, they should test your ferritin level and your cholesterol and that sort of thing. The things that you'll have to ask for or specify that you want is your PSA levels, your HbA1c, and a couple other things. If you do have any joint pain and stuff, probably checking inflammation markers like ESR or CRP. Those are good ones to check, and that will just tell you if your body's fighting anything off or if you have any inflammation. But I'll write all that down in the post when we post the video. What else? Generally women require less calories because they're smaller than men.
Can we talk about a calorie intake? And I was telling you earlier that I feel like I'm probably overeating like most of the time.
So you were thinking, so if you overeat, you're going to obviously store fat. So say you were burning 2,000 calories a day and you eat 2,000 calories per day, your weight should stay pretty much stable, right? The only variation on that is if the calories were crappy calories, if they were all refined carbohydrates, which give you the big spikes and troughs of blood sugar, and then it's going to mess with your hormones, and then that will actually make you store more fat than, so a calorie isn't just a calorie. When I studied nutrition 20 years ago, we were told that a calorie is a calorie, and if you eat 2,000 calories and you burn 2,000 calories, your weight will stay the same, but that's not necessarily true.
Okay, yeah.
2,000 calories from good quality foods will be quite different to 2,000 calories of quality. And the other thing is when we eat a Big Mac combo from McDonald's, you have a Big Mac combo, which is about 1,000 calories. There's not much nutrition in there, so it's calorie rich but very nutrition poor. So
but you were saying like the red meat has that iron you were talking about, right? I mean, other than the red meat, there's nothing else. Is that it? Like,
yeah, and you look at it, you get a burger from Jollibee or McDonald's, which I used to do about 3 o'clock in the morning when I come home smashed in Cebu, but it's
there's barely any meat in there,
and it's usually grey. It's disgusting. The meat is grey. It's Mm.
Ugh, mystery meat. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they wash it with this pink ammonia. It's just, ew.
How could
Anyway,
that's why I don't eat that. Ew.
yeah. So
Nasty.
anyway, so say you eat 1,000 calories from a Big Mac combo, your body has received 1,000 calories, and so it's looking for the nutrition to back up that 1,000 calories. But if you were to eat, so it leaves you kind of feeling empty. So you can eat a Big Mac combo, and about 30 minutes later, you feel like eating something else. You're hungry.
Really?
Yeah, it's a
Disgusting.
thing. Going on to this, Wendy. No, but it's the empty calories basically. But if you were to eat 1,000 calories from 1,000 calories is around about 250 gram piece of chicken breast, 300 grams of broccoli, a cup of rice, and about 3 teaspoons of oil. If you were to eat that, you're going to feel very full because your body has received a lot of nutrition for those 1,000 calories. So the calorie is not a calorie. So anyway, so if you're eating 2,000 calories and you're burning 2,000 calories, you should be keeping your body weight sort of stable. If we eat 2,000 calories and we're burning 2,500 calories because we're now exercising a little bit, there'll be a deficit, a negative deficit of 500 calories. So we're burning 500 calories more than we're putting into our mouth. So over the course of a week, around about 1 pound of fat to burn off is 3,500 calories that we need to burn more than we're putting in our mouth. So we should burn about 1 pound of fat per week if we were to be eating 2,000 calories and burning 2,500 calories.
What if you're like me and you're like super sedentary? You have to figure that.
So then you need to factor it in. So what we do is we figure out what your basal metabolic rate is, your BMR, basal metabolic rate, and that's a pretty simple equation, which I'll write down after this. I'll put it into the post. So that's basically your lean body weight in pounds, and we times that by 14. So let's say, hang on, where's my calculator? So let's say you were, 200 pounds, and you're 200 pounds and you are 30% body fat. So we go 200 pounds times 0.7, which gives me my lean weight. Does that make sense? So 140 pounds is the lean weight. So 60 is fat. We times it by 14, and that gives us 1,960 calories. And that would be for a 200 pound person, doesn't matter if you're male or female, 200 pound person.
Oh, it doesn't matter if you're male or female.
Not really. It's basically a calculation based on how much fat mass you have and how much lean mass.
Okay.
So fat doesn't, we remove the fat weight because when a heart pumps, it can't pass the blood through the fat, it bounces back off. So it doesn't pass through there. So it's the same for a male or females. We only take the active mass. So got it. That includes your bones, your muscles, and that sort of thing. So 140 pounds of lean weight times it by 14. The 14 is a constant number. It's always the same. Okay. And that gives us about 1,960 calories. So for that particular person, 200 pounds with 30% body fat, if they were sitting in a chair doing nothing, that would be burning 1,960 calories. Okay. And what you find is quite often that people don't eat enough. They actually, like for that particular person, I have quite a few clients that come in and they might have a basal metabolic rate of 2,000 calories a day, and I look at what they're eating, and they're only eating maybe 800 or 900 calories in a day. And when the deficit is too large, it sends a message to your brain that, why would I want to let go of fat? Because this person's trying to kill me. It's starving me. I don't have enough food to even meet my basal metabolic needs. Because you need to be almost at your basal metabolic rate, so you can breathe, so your organs can work. So it's really, really important that you try and keep your calorie intake pretty close to your BMR. And then if you want to burn off extra calories, you do that through walking. Just by walking around naturally, you're probably burning an extra 300 calories a day. If you've got a pretty active job, you might be burning an extra 500. If you go exercising, it'll be another 500. So if you meet your BMR and then you create your deficit through your exercise or moving around.
So you're saying like most people undereat and then the body just compensates by storing in fat. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, a lot of people overeat.
I would assume most people are overeating.
But you'd be surprised how many people that I see that don't eat enough. And as a
Is
result,
that by choice or what, their lifestyle, or why are they trying to lose weight? Like, why do they undereat?
yeah, people try and, they try and lose weight, so they try
Oh,
and,
so they're deliberately, okay.
and sometimes, like one of my clients, she's in Ireland, and she goes for a 14-kilometer walk every day. She's
Okay.
67-year-old woman. She thought she was doing the right thing by doing a lot of exercise and eating very little, and she couldn't understand why she wasn't losing weight. And I said to her, well, why would your body want to let go of fat if it thinks you're trying to kill it? You're burning 2,500 calories a day, and you're eating 800 calories a day. You don't even have enough calories for your muscles and your organs and everything in your body to do what it needs to do. So there's no way it's going to let go of fat. So if you eat enough calories, so that I usually try and keep the deficit between 500 and no more than 1,000 calories, that deficit. So if I'm eating 2,000 calories and burning 3,000 calories, then that's probably okay. For women, I would probably try and keep the deficit around about 700. If I have a 1,000 calorie deficit per day over the course of a week, that's 7,000 calories, and that's 2 pounds of fat that I should lose. But on the flip side, for you, like what you're saying, if you were eating 2,000 calories a day, but then you go and have 3 glasses of wine and you take that up to 3,000 calories a day, but you're only burning 2,000 calories a day, then you've got a 1,000 calorie deficit in the negative, in the positive deficit. So you're consuming 1,000 calories more than what you're expending, and that's when your body stores it because it can't get rid of it. So then you can put on 2 pounds of fat in a week. So it kind of works both ways.
I'm just thinking about when I like to prepare for ayahuasca, you have to go on this really strict diet, and when I go on that strict diet, I lose weight. Like, it's excruciating because I love food.
Which diet is that?
Ayahuasca, it's a medicinal plant ceremony, and you have to prepare. There's a purging process, so you're not supposed to eat like any processed food, any like salt and sugar and oil, and it's just very bland food. And so I typically lose weight, but I'm under eating. So how come my body isn't shifting into that mechanism that you were saying?
So initially you will lose weight, right? So it's
Okay. So then you plateau after like a month or so. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So when your body's been in a state of deprivation for say 2 or 3 weeks, you'll lose weight, and they'll get to a point where your body goes, look, I can't cope here. I don't have enough calories just to meet my basic needs. And usually what happens is it sends pretty strong cravings to your brain that going for some calorie-rich food, or you get sick. And that's what happens with what we call VLC, or very low-calorie diets, such as the Cohen's diet.
Yeah, which you mentioned to me, yeah.
It's quite popular in the Philippines, and they charge a heap of money just to tell you to eat bugger all. It's usually about, I think, 800 calories for a female and 1,000 calories for a man. I can get people
very little.
Yeah, I can get people to lose weight on that, but it won't be sustainable. Yeah. So they'll either break mentally or physically, and then they'll go back to eating the way that they did before. But what's happened is, because they've been deprived for so long, that when they start to eat normal food or a normal amount of calories again, their body goes, finally, I've got food. I need to hold on to this. So it's not going to let go of it. So it's just,
they put on weight. Okay.
It's going to, so they put on weight, and of course then they get to disillusion, and that's generally, dieting in a diet cycle, really. People lose weight, and then they, it's not sustainable, and then they put the weight back on when they start eating just normally again.
Yeah. Which is why nutritionists don't like those fad diets, or
if anything,
you lose too quickly,
out there, like pills and stuff that that reckon that you can lose weight, carb blockers and all these different fat burners and stuff like that, they're all bullshit. It's a matter of, there's a couple of things. You need to make sure that you're burning more calories than you're expending, making sure that you have enough calories. So it's finding that balance, and I'll put the calculation on later on so you can figure out how many calories you're burning. And then making sure you're eating, food which doesn't come from a packet. If you did nothing else but just made sure that you ate whole foods, you know,
Yeah,
things, you
because
know,
I've always heard like in terms of weight loss, it's 90%, like 80% nutrition and 20% exercise.
yeah, because you know, exercise shouldn't be the be all and end all of weight loss. You know, it's you can lose. It's great for your cardiovascular fitness and strengthening your bones and, you know, building muscle, maintaining muscle mass. But really, it's the nutrition. It's what you put in your mouth that's going to make the difference. Yeah, and you know, and exercise. If you exercise too much, and again, you create that deficit, make that deficit too big, then you're actually dampening your metabolism and having a negative effect.
Right. I've heard of people who put on weight when they start going to the gym, right? Because yeah. Okay. So Matt, there's a question here from David. Actually, hi David, and hi Kizom Benetter. He's saying he's always had anemia since he was a teenager. So how does he know how to get enough iron without taking the proper amount of iron? That's like through the blood test you mentioned, right?
Yeah, so
That's the only way for him to know.
You've always got to find what your real benchmark is first, you know, and then figure out where you need to get to and create a bit of a roadmap to get there. So if your iron levels were, you know, very, very low, first of all, is David vegan or eating
He is on, and we were like arguing about this because I said he's on an extreme diet. He's like, it's not an extreme diet. He's on a fruitarian diet. He's on a raw fruit diet, which for me is extreme. Like it's not sustainable. So I don't know if David is still here, but I don't know if he's taking supplements or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously taking an iron supplement would be good. If you are iron deficient, then making sure that you don't drink coffee near the time when you are.
Why?
Coffee blocks iron absorption.
Oh, okay.
So if you're having vitamin C, have vitamin C with your iron supplements, and that'll help increase the absorption of the iron.
I'm actually taking some zinc and vitamin C now daily. I bought some of those.
Yeah, zinc. I take a zinc and magnesium mix. We call it ZMA, and that's really good for recovery and sleep. And you know, it's.
Oh, I love magnesium. I take a cacao daily, so that's my magnesium dose right there.
Yeah. So yeah, with David, if he's not eating any meat, get a blood test, find out what the benchmark is. I would then supplement with iron and vitamin C, because especially if he's eating a lot of fruit, I'm guessing he would have a more acidic environment in his body, because there's a lot of sugar and fructose in fruit, so that's going to make you more acidic. So yeah, I would definitely find out the benchmark, take some vitamin C, which is going to help reduce inflammation and boost his immune system as well. And then test it again in 3 months after taking a supplement for a period of time.
So yeah, thank you for that. And for David, I don't know if he's still here, but I just wanted to go back to the fruit and the sugar intake that you mentioned, because I posted recently in my IG stories about I don't remember which person I'm following who had a nutritionist who was claiming that like grapes and apple juice is just as bad as candy. Like giving your kids that is just as bad. And parents often think, oh, it's fruit, so it's harmless, so feed them whatever. What is your take on? Do you have a similar opinion?
So soda, like a can of cola, has sugar in it, but it also the main sweetener in it is high fructose corn syrup. So it's basically it's cheaper than sugar to make, and it's fructose. So same with grapes and grape juice, or wine's okay because it's fermented and it reduces the amount of sugar.
Right.
But apple juice, grape juice, orange juice, it all has around about 10 or 11 grams of sugar per 100 mils. So a can of Coke has the same, about 10 grams of sugar by way of high fructose corn syrup per 100 mils. So pretty much has, like, if I had to drink fruit juice or cola, I would go for the fruit juice, because you will get some minerals and stuff that you wouldn't get through the cola. But the effect on your body in regards to calories and elevation of blood sugar and what happens in your body is going to be very, very similar. The other thing with fruit juice, unlike when we have like table sugar or glucose, it gets stored in your blood, so it can be used as fuel very quickly. But the thing with fructose or high fructose corn syrup, which is in pretty much all the sodas, is it goes into your liver, gets stored in or processed into your liver. And if we don't, if we've got too much carbohydrates in our body, we don't burn it off, it gets stored in the liver as fatty deposits. And then we get things called non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome, which is basically the same as what someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, but young people are
like
getting...
Cirrhosis? No.
No. So it's more the little fat deposits that are in the... Sorry, little fruit fly. Little fat deposits in the liver, and then it can mess with your insulin receptors. And they can become cancerous as well. So definitely knock fruit juice on the head. If you want to enjoy fruit, eat it as a whole, so you can keep the fiber into it. So an apple itself won't give you a huge elevation of blood sugar because you retain the fiber, which slows down the absorption. But when you juice it, you get rid of the pulp, get rid of the fiber. It's just it's all sugar.
That's actually why I've always preferred, like a lot of people are juicing, right? And I actually prefer the smoothies because they retain all the fiber. And in the juicing process, you throw that fiber. I don't really get
so juicing is really good for, say, people with cancer or people that want to get a lot of nutrients into their body very easily, people that are struggling to eat a lot. So, for you and me... It
removes the fiber.
Yeah, so it's getting rid of a lot of the fiber, well, pretty much most of the fiber, but they're still getting all those nutrients in there, and they can get, whenever I do juices, and but I would have one apple, and the rest of it would be celery, cucumber,
veggies,
like things which are not high in sugar. So juicing's not necessarily so bad. It's just try and make sure that you don't have too much of the sugary stuff, and
right.
have kale and stuff like that is fine.
Balance it out. So David is back with another comment here. He says he's going all in fruit diet and detoxing herbs. I don't know what kind of herbs he's talking about. I will see how to navigate winter in Europe. I'll need more than fruits. I'm looking into 75% alkaline, 25% acidic. So he's not really talking about the iron here.
I guess fruits like melons, like watermelon is one of the most high glycemic fruits. So, you eat a piece of watermelon and very quickly that's going to get broken down in your body.
I love watermelon.
You just hate me. This is the last conversation.
I love watermelon. No, I thought the worst is mango, right? The mango's in Cebu, right?
Yep. Delicious, especially dried mango. It's just concentrated.
All sugar.
Sugars, but shit, I love it. It's one of the best things to eat.
So moderation. I mean, it's just moderation. So.
That's right. Yeah, have it as a treat, not as a staple.
Well, I used to want to have a mango a day.
Yeah. And it depends on what else you're eating. If a mango a day might be okay, but if every other meal was sugary carbohydrate type stuff, then everything in moderation. But just I try and get when I have fruits, it's either an apple or berries.
Berries are good, but we don't have those.
We're going to have something like a melon. I'll have that as a treat with a little bit of yogurt, and usually coconut yogurt, and I'll put some nuts on there, which the fats from the nuts will help stabilize my blood sugar levels.
Sounds good. Yeah.
When we look at carbohydrates, So when we look at carbohydrates,
he's sharing some of his. Sorry.
I was just going to say when you look at carbohydrates, we talk about high glycemic or low glycemic carbohydrates. So the glycemic level is how quickly that'll get broken down into your body and turned into sugar. So watermelon is about 98 on the scale, so it's right up there. It's the most high glycemic fruit.
But I heard it's also good for hydration, right? Because it's like mostly water. Or is that bullshit also?
You could also just have a glass of water.
A glass of water. It's not as yummy.
But then in saying that, we also look at the glycemic load of the meal. So while a potato might be very high glycemic, if we were to add something like some tuna and a dollop of sour cream or some coconut oil or something like that, the fat and the protein will help slow down the absorption of the blood sugar. So it can actually reduce the glycemic load of that food, of that. It's quite complicated, but
yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of information there. I say just go with the seasonal stuff, but in the Philippines there are no seasons, so it's a little tough.
yeah, usually mango, or
Mango every day. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up in a bit, but Dave is just sharing some of his arsenal of superfoods. So chlorella, cilantro, spirulina, maca, camu, matcha, and cacao. Yeah, those are superfoods. So
hemp seeds, chia,
yeah, stuff like that. You mentioned chia pudding, right? I sometimes make those too.
all that stuff is fantastic, but I think, David, you're probably going to be lacking in calories. It would be interesting if you were just to calculate how many calories and where those calories are coming from as well, because you might find that you're only having, it would be quite hard to get enough calories just through fruits. So I'm not saying you have to, eat, well over your BMR, but as long as you're sort of, a couple of hundred calories close to your basal metabolic rate, that would be good. And then you generally, what I do is I take the total amount of calories that we're burning, and then I break it down into your fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So as a general rule of thumb, men should have about 30% of their total calories coming from protein, and then around about 30% from carbohydrates, and then I usually go about 40% from fat. So if I've got 2,000 calories to eat, 40% of that would be from fats. So fat is 9 calories per gram. So I take those amount of calories and figure it out. I'll put all those calculations in later on, but it's so you can try and nut it out yourself.
Well, when I think of spending winter in France, I'm thinking like potatoes smothered in cheese and like,
yeah.
Food in France is so yummy, but yeah. All right, so we're coming up to lunchtime here in the Philippines. Is there anything you want to? We kind of covered most of the things we wanted to talk about.
I think,
maybe just remind everyone your website and we'll post it later.
So our website is healyourbodywithfood.net. So healyourbodywithfood.net. And I do online consults as well as consults in my office here in Queensland, Australia. But hoping to get back over to Cebu one day soon. I had two trips planned. I had April and October, and they've both gone to custard. So hopefully when I do get to come over there, maybe we could do a little workshop or something.
That would be cool. But it looks like it'll be 2021. April 2021. By the way things are going here. Yeah. We're slowly opening up. Yeah,
hopefully things get better there soon. We've been quite fortunate here I think we've only got about 10 cases in Queensland.
Wow, amazing. Well, good for you. You're at the right place then.
Well, I think that's pretty much it. I'm just having a look at my notes there, and
covered a lot. Thank you. I'm ready for my coffee now.
Yes, you can have your coffee now.
I'm ready for my coffee.
I think after that, the big knowledge dump there, you probably suppressed you a bit. You need coffee.
All the calculations. Yeah.
It's a lot of information, and
it is a lot of information.
Ramble on a bit. But if anyone wants any clarification, if I went too fast, just post a question. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thanks again for your time, Matt.
No worries. Good to see you.
Have a great afternoon, and till next time.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.